Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the breakfast news on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. Suicide attack at a beach restaurant in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu. At least 3 people killed, several injured. Reports suggest assailants may have taken people hostage. Nine people, including 3 policemen, killed in bomb blast near the pyramids in Cairo. Makeshift bomb went off during police raid at militant hideout. India says there is need to fight menace of terrorism with equal force against all terrorist groups. MEA spokesperson says there has been no visible action on Pakistan's part following Pathankot attack. Russia rejects British inquiry report that says Russian President Vladimir Putin probably approved murder of ex-spy Alexander Litvinenko. Britain says sanctions against Russia likely. And amid mounting student protests, Hyderabad University reinstates suspended Dalit students, but pressure mounts on HRD Minister Smriti Irani as Dalit faculty accuses her of making misleading statements. Well, suicide bombers and heavily armed gunmen of the Al-Shabaab terror group attacked a popular beach restaurant in Somali capital Mogadishu last evening. The first car bomb went off in the early evening at around 7:30 p.m. local time, followed soon after by as many as 5 gunmen approaching from the beach. A second car bomb went off half an hour later, soon after which the gunmen opened indiscriminate fire inside the hotel complex. News reports suggest at least 3 people have died and many wounded. The toll is feared to rise as the hotel was crowded with wedding and graduation ceremonies going on at the time of the attack. An unknown number of people are still believed to be trapped inside the hotel. The gun battle between the militants and security forces is still on. The Somali Prime Minister Omar Adi Rashid Ali Sharmarke has condemned the attack, calling it barbaric. Al-Shabaab, an affiliate of the Al-Qaeda, has claimed responsibility for the attack in a radio message. The group has carried out similar attacks in the past since its ouster from Mogadishu in August 2011. In similar news now, 9 people, including 4 policemen, were killed on Thursday in a Cairo suburb near the world-famous pyramids when a makeshift bomb went off as police prepared to raid a militant hideout. The bomb exploded near a road in Giza after the security forces had arrived to raid an apartment and found the building booby-trapped. The device went off when they tried to defuse it. 10 people were injured. The Home Ministry issued a statement saying that the bomb had been planted by Muslim Brotherhood militants and went off when security forces tried to raid the building. Islamist militants have stepped up attacks on Egyptian soldiers and police since the army toppled President Mohamed Morsi of the Muslim Brotherhood in 2013 after mass protests against his rule.
احنا سمعنا صوت الانفجار طلعنا لقينا غباره شديده جدا من التراب لمده نص ساعه محدش شاف حاجه بعد نص ساعه او ساعه الا ربع شفنا بقى الكارثه ايه اللي حصل ايه اللي ما حصلش مش عارفين.
Meanwhile, in the light of the Pathankot terrorist attack in India and Peshawar attack in Pakistan, as well as various terrorist attacks in Afghanistan, India has said that there is need of fighting the menace of terrorism with equal force against all terrorist groups. This is the first official statement of India besides Prime Minister Narendra Modi condemning the terrorist attack on Wednesday at the Bacha Khan University in Peshawar. Spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, Vikas Swarup, said that there has been no visible action on the part of Pakistan against perpetrators of the Pathankot attack, and India is still awaiting response from Islamabad on the special investigation team.
What these attacks really show is that terrorism is now the single greatest challenge facing the international community. And everybody has to unite against this menace, this scourge, and end this distinction between good terrorists and bad terrorists once and for all.
Well, the CIA will join French security personnel in helping Indian agencies provide security to French President François Hollande during his visit as a chief guest at this year's Republic Day parade in New Delhi. Heightening the threat perception, a letter warning against his upcoming visit was received by the French consulate in Bengaluru on Thursday. Here's more.
Ahead of the French president's visit to India, the consulate in Bengaluru received a threat letter warning against Francois Hollande's visit. Bengaluru's Additional Commissioner of Police, KSR Charan Reddy, said the address on the letter indicated that it came from Chennai.
It's a threat to him that he should not come and participate in the Republic Day parade as a chief guest. At the bottom of the letter, the words Al-Qaeda are written.
Reddy said investigations revealed the address did not exist. The document received by the French consulate is a single-page letter showing a map of India. President Hollande arrives in India on January 24th for a 3-day visit. He will land in Chandigarh, where he will be received by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The French leader is the chief guest of the massive Republic Day parade in Delhi on Tuesday. Meanwhile, security has been tightened in New Delhi ahead of the Republic Day parade. Reports suggest over 70 skyscrapers near Rajpath will remain closed for security reasons. There are also reports of terror alerts in Delhi, Mumbai and Kolkata ahead of the celebrations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, 4 days after the suicide by Rohit Vemula, the University of Hyderabad lifted the suspension on 4 Dalit students who were suspended along with him. The incident that sparked outrage across the nation also led to a political war of words between the government and the opposition. Here's more.
Despite the HRD minister's clarification on Wednesday, Dalit faculty members threatening to quit their administrative positions at the Hyderabad University. Students said they plan to enlist support from campuses across the country to expand their protest against what they called misrepresenting facts in Rohit Vemula's suicide case. Various political parties also expressed support for their protests.
कल स्मृति ईरानी जी का जो बयान था, वो बयान घोर शर्मनाक बयान है। जिस तरह से उन्होंने इस पूरे के पूरे मामले को दलित वर्सेस नॉन दलित बनाने की कोशिश की, उन्होंने झूठ पे झूठ बोलने की कोशिश की।
हैदराबाद यूनिवर्सिटी का 4 पीएचडी दलित स्कॉलर्स की सस्पेंशन को वापस लेने का निर्णय भारतीय जनता पार्टी, यूनिवर्सिटी अथॉरिटीज और एचआरडी मिनिस्ट्री के अपराध बोध और उनकी एंटी दलित एजेंडा में संलिप्तता का सबसे बड़ा सबूत है।
Later in the afternoon, the university revoked the suspension of 4 Dalit students who were suspended along with V. Rohit, although the barrage of criticism continued.
Executive committee under the chairmanship of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Apparao, convened a meeting and they have taken a decision to revoke the suspension of these students completely. Now other demands are there, other demands will be discussed with the student leaders.
Why we cannot accommodate ideas which are different from us? Why we cannot accommodate people who have a different set of belonging identity than what we have? I think it's a failure not only of the government, it's a failure of us as a nation.
Just an allegation unnecessarily. Congress is resorting to a politics of vendetta. They are sensationalizing this suicide of a Dalit boy. They are communalizing, they are trying to divide the society.
Smriti Irani, the HRD minister yesterday, rather resolving the issue and be sensitive and human, but she started speaking lies. She's saying that there was Dalit professor who was headed the investigation team of subcommittee of executive council, which is blatantly a lie. That's the reason the Dalit professors tended to resign, because she's misquoted.
Members of the Dalit faculty issued a statement that said an upper caste professor, Vipin Srivastava, took the decision to suspend the students. They even pointed out that no Dalit representation had in fact been given representation in the Executive Council of the University of Hyderabad. BJP allies said the government is conducting a probe.
और दलित सेना जो हमारी पार्टी का एक बहुत ही मजबूत प्रकोष्ठ है, उसके राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष रामचंद्र पासवान जी, इनके नेतृत्व में एक डेलीगेशन कल हमारे राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष के आदेश पर हैदराबाद सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी गया था। वहाँ पे इन्होंने छात्रों से मुलाकात की और लोक जनशक्ति पार्टी शुरू से ही ये बात कहती रही है कि ये एक अनऑफिशियल इन्वेस्टिगेशन है जो हमारी पार्टी की तरफ से एक टीम गई है, बट हम लोग चाहते हैं कि इसकी एक निष्पक्ष और स्वतंत्र एजेंसी से इसकी पूरी जाँच की जाए।
Meanwhile, ABVP leader Nandanam Sushil Kumar, who was named as an accused, demanded a fair inquiry into the incident and denied that he had lied about being manhandled by Rohit and other students of Ambedkar Students Association on August 3rd last year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Here's a look now at the news and events lined up for today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Varanasi today to distribute aid and devices to differently abled people. He will also flag off a new Varanasi-New Delhi train with improved amenities from his Lok Sabha constituency. Modi will also be travelling to Lucknow to address the 6th convocation of the Babasaheb Bhimrao Ambedkar University. The Delhi government will organize the year's first car-free day in North Delhi today. The 4th installment of the traffic regulation implemented since October last will be observed between the Vishwavidyalaya metro station and the Chhatrasal Stadium. The day will see a cycle rally in which several government and bureaucratic functionaries will take part. Well, today is the second day of the All India Presiding Officers Conference, which started in Gandhinagar yesterday. The conference is intended to facilitate a dialogue between the presiding officers of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and other legislative bodies in the country. Around 350 delegates from across India are attending the 78th edition of the annual conference. Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Nobel Prize, because of the statutes, is only given to 3 people. The Nobel Committee spends a lot of time thinking about it and figuring out which were the key ideas that made something happen. And the more the science is, rapidly communicative, the more these controversies will happen. Do not do anything you're not interested in, because you will never do well.
Watch Eureka with Nobel laureate Professor Venkatraman Ramakrishnan only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley met US Treasury Secretary Jacob Lew at the World Economic Forum in Davos and discussed the upcoming economic and financial partnership summit between the two countries. Jaitley also met the finance ministers of Switzerland and Australia among a host of bilateral meetings with the government and business leaders. Earlier, Arun Jaitley had expressed hope that India can achieve 9% economic growth rate in the global friendlier climate. Here's more.
The bright spot in the global economy could do better, feels the finance minister. Despite falling exports, volatile currencies and jittery stock markets, Arun Jaitley feels India can clock 8 to 9% growth. The finance minister said the fundamentals of the economy remain strong, but asserted that 2 years of weak monsoons and several indigenous and global factors impacted economic progress.
The reality is that even if we are the fastest growing amongst the major economies, we all feel we can do much better. That fastest is still not good enough for India. I think our real potential is 1.5% over and above that.
Jaitley also said the global market volatility is here to stay and that no nation can be immune to the crisis.
Earlier, the world lived with a situation where after a couple of years, you could see a challenge or a crisis. But today, volatility seems to be the norm. And therefore, we have to live in that. And no country, including India, can say we are immune from it.
The finance minister emphasized that it was wrong to say the government was exploiting lower global oil prices and claimed that the cut in oil subsidy has only helped the government replan its expenditure. He also underscored that rationalization of subsidies was one of the biggest reforms that has taken place. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha television.
Well, chief economist of the World Bank has said that China's economic growth in 2015 was quite strong. Speaking on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Kaushik Basu said that though China had an economic growth of 6.9% in 2015, its structural reform was going in the right direction. He suggested that China should improve its communication with the world to avoid the turbulence in financial market. He also said China must increase the buying power of its impoverished people to promote domestic consumption. Another suggestion includes taking the opportunity of the fourth industrial revolution to achieve economic restructuring.
6.9% growth, which is the slowest growth in the last 25 years, is actually in many ways remarkable good news. There may be no other country in the world today that can say with 6.9% growth, I've done worst performance in 25 years. So it is a testimony to China's remarkably strong performance for 25-30 years, that a growth of 6.9, which is actually pretty handsome growth, but in comparison to itself, it is a slowdown. China actually, in some areas of digital technology, China is already in a leadership role. Retail trading, the retail business in China is extremely advanced. So China should take the model of its own success in the retail sector for other kinds of digital connectivity, link up its people, and that has some negative fallouts and dangers. But to stay away from a new technology which has arrived in the world is going to disadvantage you hugely.
Well, Food Minister Ram Vilas Paswan claims that production of pulses will increase marginally this year, but in order to meet the supply crisis, the government will instead take recourse to imports to meet the demand. He also allayed fears that the sugar output will not be enough to cater to the domestic demand. Here's more.
Food Minister Ram Vilas Paswan on Thursday blamed a demand-supply mismatch for the crisis in pulses. He said the government will import about 45 lakh tons in order to meet the rising domestic demand. Pulse production is likely to be around 175 lakh tons this year, 3 lakh tons less than last year. Demand, however, is expected to be 235 lakh tons.
शुरू में ही इंपोर्ट हो जाने से मार्केट में पैनिक नहीं फैलता है और भी आवश्यकता और भी क्या कहते हैं कि इसमें होगा। इसके अलावा सरकार ने अपने से भी जो है अलग से जो है बफर स्टॉक जो है बनाया है और उसके लिए जो है 1.5 लाख 1.5 लाख टन का बफर स्टॉक जो है वो बफर का लक्ष्य है।
Paswan allayed fears that a deficient monsoon will cause shortages in sugar production. He said cane arrears had dropped to 27 billion rupees from 210 billion rupees in April 2015.
अप्रैल में 21,000 करोड़ गन्ना किसान का बकाया था। आज के डेट में 2700 करोड़ रुपया जो है 25 केवल 2,500 करोड़ रुपया बचा है और जो चीज हम लोगों ने जो है गन्ना किसान को मिल मालिक को राहत दिया था, चाहे इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी का मामला हो, एक्सपोर्ट इंसेंटिव का मामला हो, इथेनॉल का मामला हो या मान लेते हैं कि सॉफ्ट लोन का मामला हो, इसका फायदा जो है किसान को हुआ है।
According to the Union Minister, the National Food Security Act will cover the entire nation by March 2016. So far, around 25 states are implementing the act, while the rest will join by March this year. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, severe cold wave conditions continue to rattle the northern part of the country. Rail traffic has been severely affected as dense fog makes an appearance. Icy winds are making matters worse.
People across the northern states are battling icy winds as normal life is thrown out of gear due to a severe cold wave and a thick blanket of fog. Poor visibility due to the fog has hit vehicular movement, making it difficult for children as they head to school.
बच्चे को बहुत ठंड लग रही है, छोटे बच्चे के लिए तो बहुत परेशानी हो गई है। They can't wake up early in the morning, स्कूल आने का मन नहीं कर रहा है और स्ट्रेंथ भी कम है, इसलिए टीचर्स को भी परेशानी हो रही है।
The cold winds coming from the northwest have dropped temperatures further. Fresh snowfall and hailstorms in Shimla are forcing people to stay indoors. Road and rail traffic has also been affected.
बहुत ज़्यादा ठंड है, कोहरे से बहुत परेशान है। इसी चक्कर में गाड़ी भी यहाँ कोई नहीं आ पा रही है और काफ़ी लोग भी कल भी इस गाड़ी के चक्कर में काफ़ी लोगों ने नौकरी से हाथ धो बैठा है और गाड़ी भी समय पर नहीं आ पा रही है। इस कोहरे के चक्कर में सारी गाड़ियाँ लेट चल रही हैं।
Snowfall in states like Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh has a direct impact on the temperatures in other northern states like Punjab, Haryana, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. Meanwhile, the Met Department has predicted cold wave conditions to continue over the next week as well, attributing it to the northwesterly winds. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Going on to some international news now, a British judicial inquiry into radioactive poisoning of a former Russian spy Alexander Litvinenko in 2006 in London has said that Russian President Vladimir Putin probably approved the murder. Russia has rejected the charges, terming it an attempt to malign Putin and the country's image. The UK government is also weighing sanctions against Russia in the wake of the inquiry report.
In 2006, Litvinenko, an outspoken critic of Vladimir Putin, fled Russia and died after drinking green tea laced with the rare radioactive isotope at London's Millennium Hotel. According to the inquiry led by the British government, former KGB bodyguard Andrei Lugovoy and another Russian, Dmitry Kovtun, poisoned Litvinenko. The report concludes that Litvinenko's murder was probably approved by Russian President Vladimir Putin and the head of the country's spy service.
I have concluded that there is a strong probability that when Mr. Lugovoy poisoned Mr. Litvinenko, he did so under the direction of the FSB, the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation. I have further concluded that the FSB operation to kill Mr. Litvinenko was probably approved by Mr. Patrushev, then head of the FSB, and also by President Putin.
British Prime Minister David Cameron has confirmed that the Russian state was behind the polonium poisoning. Cameron's Conservative government has imposed fresh sanctions which directs asset freeze on the two Russian accused and has issued European arrest warrants for them.
What we've added today, rightly, is further asset freezes, writing again to the prosecuting authorities to see what more can be done. We must now read the report in its entirety and take everything into account, but be in no doubt this shocking event was reacted to years ago when it happened, and we're toughening our action again today.
However, the report does not provide any direct evidence linking Putin or any other high-level Russian officials to the killing, but acknowledges that findings were based on strong circumstantial evidence of Russian state responsibility.
Публичного расследования как такового его не было. Все, о чем говорит британская Фемида и британские средства массовой информации о том, что это было публичное слушание, что это все в открытую было, это ложь. Ложь, возмутительная ложь, я другого слова не могу найти.
I'm of course very pleased that the words my husband spoke on his deathbed when he accused Mr. Putin of his murder have been proved true in an English court with the highest standards of independency and fairness. But now it's time for David Cameron. I'm calling immediately for the exclusion from the UK of all Russian intelligence operatives.
The death of Litvinenko, a whistleblower who had fought corruption in Moscow's security services, plunged relations between Britain and Russia into a verbal spark. Russia's foreign ministry has accused Britain of wanting to tarnish Russia and its president.
For us, it's absolutely unacceptable that the report concludes that the Russian state was in any way involved in the death of Mr. Litvinenko on the British soil.
The British police have accused Lugovoy and Kovtun of murder, charges which they deny, and Russia refuses to extradite them. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu has accused Russia of jeopardizing peace talks on Syria by bombing moderate rebels and by insisting on the inclusion of organizations such as the Kurdish YPG militia, which he described as terrorist groups on the opposition side. Turkey is concerned by the growing influence of the YPG across its borders in Syria and the support it receives from Washington in combating Islamic State. It fears expansion could further nourish Kurdish rebellion on its own territory. A Syrian opposition council backed by the Saudi Arabia said that on Wednesday it would not attend internationally brokered negotiations with the Syrian government due to start in Geneva on Jan 25th if a third group took part.
Some circles, including Russians, they want to spoil
opposition side putting some other elements in opposition side, like YPG, which has been collaborating with the regime and attacking moderate opposition, or some groups like Kadri Cemil or those who were appointed by the regime.
Well, let's now bring you a roundup of the other international news in our World Wrap. An airstrike by Saudi-led coalition fighting in Yemen killed at least 9 people on Thursday. The strike targeted an oil facility on the Red Sea, which is operated by the Houthi rebels. Medical sources in the nearby port city of Hodeidah said that the attack on the Ras Isa facility also wounded at least 30 people. Most of those injured were local oil workers who load tanker trucks with refined products for domestic distribution. The Ras Isa complex is Yemen's main oil export terminal. Chinese President Xi Jinping has announced billions of dollars in special loans and investments in the Middle East. Xi made the offer to the Cairo-based Arab League after holding talks with Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi during his first tour to the Middle East. Post the agreement, China would dedicate $15 billion in special loans to boost industrial production in the Middle East region, $10 billion in trade credit for joint energy projects, and another $10 billion in soft loans. It would also set up funds with the UAE and Qatar worth a total of $20 billion to invest in conventional energy. Protests over youth unemployment have spread to several towns and cities in Tunisia, leading to the death of policemen in clashes on Thursday. Demonstrations began in the northern Kasserine region after a man was electrocuted while protesting at being rejected for a government job. In the town of Feriana, a policeman died after his car was overturned. Unemployment has worsened in Tunisia since the 2011 revolution, when President Zine al-Abidine Ben Ali was ousted. Those demonstrating say many of the social problems highlighted in 2011 have not been resolved yet. That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a good day.